I am back with another Prove It Basic Strategy video for you guys today. We'll replay 200 hands of Blackjack, 100 one way, which is what Basic Strategy says, and 100 a different way. We're playing a pair of nines versus a dealer's 7 today, and Basic Strategy says that we should stand on our pair of sevens. Remember, Basic Strategy with a pair of nines, so you should split your nines against dealers 2 through 9, except for 7. So we're going to look at maybe, is there better EV in standing on the 7 today compared to splitting, which is what a ploppy might do, or a non-card counter. You might see them get a little confused at the table. Maybe there are a couple drinks in or something. But anyway, I have 40 red chips, 40 green chips. We're going to kind of play one way on one side with Basic Strategy and one way with splitting, which is what ploppy might do there. All right, I have 8 decks of cards. We're going to throw it into our shoe, but before I do that, just to make sure it's fair, let me get these shuffled up, and then we'll try a couple hands, and then we'll do the rest in a hyperlapse. All right, those cards should all be shuffled. We'll even give it a cut here just so it's even mixed up more. I'm going to throw those into our 8-deck shoe. All right, and then off to the side here, I have 3 cards from our deck. We got 2 nines and a 7. All right, so a couple things will happen every single time. In fact, let's just play out the first 5 and see how it goes compared to how a card counter should play versus how a non-card counter, maybe a ploppy, might play these pair of nines by splitting them. All right, so first off, card counter would stand. Let's say the card counter is the red chips. Again, don't think 25s and 5, just think pile of 40 chips and another pile of different colored chips, another 40 of them. They would stand, and no matter what the dealer's whole card is here. Whereas the ploppy would split their nines maybe. Okay, so let's see what would happen. 19 would stand, 20 would stand. Dealer has 14 and too many. They have 22. All right, so what would I do here to mark up my paper? Well, first off, 20 and 19 are both winners, but so was, if I put these back together, so was the 18. Okay, so for a lot of this, you probably won't see me do much with the card counter, as I know that would have been 18. But what I will do is split my nines and give them each at least one more card. You know, maybe doubling down if I need to, and things like that, depending on what I get for the next card there. However, what will be important is what's going on over here. Now, in both cases, we won money. So I'm gonna say these are both wins. All right, so a win for our Basic Strategy and a win for the ploppy. Now, a couple other things could happen. Obviously, we could lose the hand. If this totaled more than 18, we would have lost this one. And same thing for there if we would have lost. But what if, you know, we maybe lose one hand and win another? Well, I would call that a push, because the amount of money that I had at the beginning of that hand compared to at the end of that hand was the same. So a push is going to be the same amount of money in that sense. Or if we were to push both hands, or over here, if the dealer gets 18 and we get 18, I would also consider that a push. Okay, let's try the next one. And for this, I'm going to give them their 1 chip. All right, now again, you can just think of this as staying as 18. I'm going to take the rest of these except for that 7. They do need a whole card. All right, however, on this side, so just remember that's 18. On this side, let's see what happens here. This is going to be 19 and 19, so again, a stand. Dealer again has 14, and is that like the same thing? That's crazy. You saw me put those cards in there, right? All right, so again, 22. So both times it's winners. There we go. And so again, a win and a win. However, this guy's up quite a bit more. So we're gonna hopefully see, after 100 hands of Basic Strategy and 100 hands of splitting, what's going on with, why does Basic Strategy say to stand instead of split our nines against the dealer's 7? Okay, again, I'm not going to do much with this one because it just thinks the 2 nines are put back together. But for hand 3, let's give the dealer a whole card. I'll go a little faster this time. All right, hey, here's this one's interesting. Now I got to hit this again. This is 14. All right, now too many, so I'm going to take this one away. Now they could still potentially push. if they get another one. Man, it's been 7 every single time. And 24. So yeah, they get their chip back. So this is going to be a push over here for the non-card counter. However, 18 did win, and so they have 3 wins compared to the Poppies 2, but they still have more chips because they've won a couple chips the last few times. All right, that was hand number 3. Next one, we're going to split those. Try to keep these piles even too, so when it's in my hyperlapse for the next few hands, you can see that coming. See if we're winning or not. All right, that would have been 18 over here. Ooh, so this calls for a double down. All right, so now I have 16, and this one is a hit. That's 14 and too many. All right, dealer has 16 and too many. So they got 2 chips back. And remember, I only took 1 away. So this is actually a win compared to the chip count. And this one's also a win. So 2 more wins. Win and win. Now let's do 1 more and I'll throw it into that hyperlapse here for us. Split them. This would have been 18. Get a dealer a whole card. 20 can stand. This needs to double down on the 11. All right, nice, got 19. Dealer has 17. Okay, so this time they won 3 chips over here. So this is interesting. It looks like they're kind of off to a decent lead. But I wonder if that'll be sustained throughout the entirety of these 100 hands. So again, both are winners. However, what I'm seeing so far is that the basic strategy has not lost yet. Right now it's only 5 hand sample. I'm gonna throw it into a hyperlapse. I gotta switch my camera because it can do it without overheating. I'll be right back with you after these next 95 hands. All right, I'm back with the results after playing out the rest of those 100 hands, kind of 100 by standing, which is what basic strategy says, and 100 by splitting. Again, I have kind of the chip count over here. Let's look at that first. Hey, real quick, I want to tell you about CasinoSupply.com. I'm partnered with them, and you can get 10% off your entire order if you use code A1BJ. You can get all sorts of cool blackjack stuff like discard trays. We got double deck, 6 deck, 8 deck. You can have chip sets. These are my favorite chips, the Monte Carlo chips. They have nice chip sets on sale right now even. I got my custom felt made by them. Maybe you want your own custom blackjack felt. I have a 6-deck shoe, an 8-deck shoe that I'm using in this particular video, and of course, lots of different types of cards that anything you could want there, even cut cards. I even got a brush that I use to brush off my table. So CasinoSupply.com has all your blackjack needs. You get 10% off if you use my code A1BJ. Remember, we started with 40, which was, each of these are piles of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and also 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I kind of move those piles out of the way like this, it looks like the non-card counter who split their 9s against the dealer 7 has 21 chips in addition to what they started with, whereas the other guy has 43 more chips. Okay, so clearly there's a reason that basic strategy says what it does. All right, let's look at the numbers now, because sometimes this guy would win or lose several chips. If we would split to multiple nines, multiple spots, we could split up to 4 spots is typically with the most allowed at a table. But anyway, the basic strategy guy, for his chips, he won 62 times. He lost 42, or look upside down, lost 24 times, and he pushed 14 times, okay? And so that should add up to 100 there. So definitely a ton more wins compared to our guy who split, which only had 41 wins, 34 losses. So he lost more, and usually, you know, when you'd lose, you'd have to usually lose more than 1 chip. I'd say on average they were losing more than 1 there, because the pushes are where you would win 1 and lose 1. And so there was a lot more pushes as well, because you're split. That's a very likely outcome, to win 1 hand and lose 1 hand, compared to the guy up here who did basic strategy. He only pushed 14 times, as the dealer had to get 18, just like the 2 nines together was 18 for them. Okay. So a couple things with this. One reason why I think people split their nines against the dealer's 7 is maybe twofold. One, they just remember the rule, all right, split against the dealer is 2 through 9, and they forget the part that says except 7. All right, so that might be why they do that here. The second reason that they split is because they probably had some, you know, good experience. We are up by doing that, right? If we started with 40 chips here, they finished with more chips than what they started with, and usually by splitting, it might be a case where you win multiple chips compared to the guy who didn't split his 9s, but they can't see in the long run. Now, is this the long run? Back to that comment at the beginning, which was kind of admonishing me for that this wasn't enough hands. I know, I say that every single video. Basic strategy is not built off of 100 hands, it's built off of millions, hundreds of millions of hands even. And because of those computer simulations that do that, that is what the math suggests. Would this be a little bit more even in the long run? Maybe. Maybe it'd be more separated and this guy would win even more, all right? However, this quick snapshot of 100 hands shows us just how big that discrepancy is with those different chip counts there. So a couple things. One, this took about an hour and a half to make, so if you would give me just a quick thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. It's the least you can do. It's free. I appreciate you supporting my channel in that way. 2, you might like this video on the screen next, which goes over a different basic strategy hand that we played 100 times.